Now it's time to meet our first 2021 SCI Idealist Award recipient. For our introduction, I'm going to call upon Lourdes German, Assistant Professor of Social Impact Practice at Boston College.
Great. Thank you again for this invitation. 15 years ago, I started my career at a law firm here in Boston, and in search of mentors, one of my colleagues suggested I contact a woman named Betty Francisco, whom she described as a rising leader who just left the firm to join a company called Millennium Partners as general counsel. And I remember distinctly when I looked up her biography, feeling incredibly impressed, but so hesitant because I realized that I had absolutely nothing to offer her in that meeting as someone just starting out. And I was incredibly grateful, not only when she replied, but when she accepted my invitation and spent enormous time, care, and generosity, taking an earnest approach to understanding who I was, listening to my aspirations, and most importantly, hearing me talk about the contributions I wanted to make in our community, which really became the heart of that conversation. And the steps she took on her own after that meeting to create early pathways for me are still meaningful to this day. And in the 15 years of friendship since that one coffee, I have seen Betty bring that same generosity to every mentee I have ever introduced her to countless people with whom she spends what I call invisible hours behind the scenes. And she is honestly someone who does not go a day without making an introduction, providing guidance, or opening a door to somebody here in our community. And that is a hallmark of who she is. She has a remarkable work ethic, a commitment to driving social change. She's done this for decades, not only while being a mother, but also building a career as an attorney and business leader with intentionality at mission-driven organizations that include not only her own company, Reimagine Play, but when she served as general counsel at Compass Working Capital, co-founded Amplify Latinx, and in her current role as chief executive officer of the Boston Impacts Initiative. And she does all this with incredible commitment to the life she has outside of work, where she serves on a number of boards, including the Boston Foundation, Beth Israel, the Nellie Mae Foundation, the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston's Community Development Advisory Council, and so many others. And I'm a firm believer that everything you do and everything you say will show the world who you are and what you are capable of contributing to others. If we look at Betty's collective body of work, including so many things I was not able to include, but that are in her bio, it shows us that she is a generous, brilliant, creative, and thoughtful woman who cares about others, who always makes a space to advance them. And she is a leader who is unselfish, courageous, and so fearless when building coalitions and partnerships to drive social change around the hardest issues. And I remember distinctly when Boston Magazine named her as one of the 100 most influential people in Boston, and the Boston Business Journal recognized her as one of the region's most influential people, that her alma mater, Northeastern, published a really terrific article that many of you may have read about her. And there was one sentence in that article which I think really captures why she is such a remarkable leader and so worthy of this distinction. And it was a little sentence somewhere in the middle that said, she doesn't get much sleep, but she is a bridge to the lasting change we need at this pivotal moment. Betty, you are that and so much more. Your passion, vision, humility, and grace will continue to drive change in our community. I am certain of that in so many meaningful ways. And it will continue to inspire me and so many others who live those values alongside you. And for those reasons and so many others, I hope that everybody here joins me in congratulating Betty on receiving this well-deserved honor. She truly embodies everything that this award represents.
Wow, Lourdes. Oh my God, you're gonna make me cry. Thank you so much for that beautiful, beautiful introduction. You've been such a steadfast friend, mentor, champion for so many years. Even though you're younger than me, I consider you my mentor as well. I learned so much from you, and I'm grateful to have you in my life and what I consider my familia. I'm deeply honored and grateful today to be recognized as the 2021 SCI Idealist, along with my fellow honorees, Paul Francisco and Yolanda Coentro. Thank you, David Crowley, Jennifer Jones, the board of SCI, the host committee, and to all the sponsors who are supporting this celebration today. And thank you to all the friends and colleagues in the audience who have joined us. This is a very special honor for me because Paul and I are being recognized together for much of the work that we do as part of our daily professional and personal lives. Paul happens to be my husband, for those of you who didn't know that. And when I first met Paul, he was one of the leaders of Alpha Boston, a Latino professional network, and a diversity recruiter at Gillette. Needless to say, he was basically in the relationship business. And it was through Paul and serving ultimately on the board of Alpha myself that I learned the value of networking, of building cross-sector relationships with business, political, and civic leaders. As someone who lacked a network or social capital in Boston, originally being from New York, I quickly learned the power of having mutually beneficial relationships with the right people. Paul taught me how to use our growing influence to open doors for others, to help people find career building jobs, to recommend diverse candidates for business and leadership opportunities, and eventually to use our social capital to advocate for racial and social justice. The work of SCI exemplifies these values that I strive to live every day. These are the values of network building, of sponsorship, advocacy, to increase the diversity of representation and economic opportunity for communities of color. As many of you know, I wear many, many hats. I'm a social entrepreneur, an investor, a recovering lawyer, but first and foremost, I'm an advocate for racial equity. Just 4 weeks into the role, I'm currently the new CEO of Boston Impact Initiative, an impact investing fund working to close the racial wealth divide in Eastern Massachusetts. As a social impact fund, we invest in people and in their communities. And we know that our role is more than just as a capital provider. We also provide social capital. These are the introductions to resources, to potential customers, to partners, and future investors for these growing businesses. And that's why I am so excited to work for BII and to open the doors to support our businesses who are owned by entrepreneurs of color. In addition to my role at BII, I'm also the co-founder of Amplify Latinx, which is building economic and political power for Latinos in Massachusetts. We do this work by advancing civic engagement and connecting, championing, and amplifying the voice of Latino leaders in the Commonwealth. As a network that's grown from 50 women originally to 5,000 strong, we're advancing Latino leadership representation, we're using our social capital to open doors, and we're advocating for policies and practices to increase Latino economic mobility. So what can we collectively do to grow representative voices in our civic and business community? This is a crucial question today. First, let's continue to build our relationships with each other by working together to co-create and solve intractable problems together. Second, let's challenge ourselves to do our part to increase diverse representation at the highest levels, from city councils to the C-suite. Third, let's continue investing in organizations like SCI Social Capital, which bring together young people to support communities and build civic engagement. At the same time, let's invest, and you invest your social capital in our young leaders and in Black, Indigenous, Latinx, and Asian leaders who are building inclusive and impactful organizations and businesses. In the end, expanding social capital is not just about how much money you can raise or how many important people you know. It's about going out of your way to reach out to someone having a hard time, to lend your support, to open a door to new opportunities, and to leave them with a little more hope and happiness. Thank you once again to SCI Social Capital. I'm deeply honored to receive this award. Jennifer, I turn it back to you.
Congratulations, Betty, on your well-deserved recognition.